Welcome to No Cover Comics.
At Metropolis General Hospital, Lex is undergoing an MRI. The MRI revealed that Lex's brain is effectively new, and the neurotoxin that erased his memory has left his mind functioning at a higher level than normal. But this doesn't clarify why Lex is seeing his dead sister. The doctor suggests it's the psychological toll of Tess taking her own life, which causes Tess to appear, questioning her suicide. Luther asks the doctor for discretion, while Tess wonders if this is to hide that he is an unstable lunatic or that he was assembled from the cloned pieces of one. Irritated, Lex asks his sister if she's a ghost or a hallucination. Tess tells him the last thing she remembers is being stabbed by him, painting him with brain poison, and then suddenly finding herself standing on the street with him, and that he might have answers if he obsessed over it, instead of Superman. Lex maintains Superman will abuse his power. Otis advises against this as a press conference opener. Lex tells Otis to gather all the information available on Tess's neurotoxin, and they must proceed with the launch without further delays. If the military won't keep them safe, then someone has to. In orbit, the Big Blue Boy Scout scans the area where the rift appeared. Watchtower contacts him, and after a little joking about his codename, Chloe inquires about his progress. Feeding Watchtower the data, Clark informs her that he's already flexed through X-ray, infrared, and gamma vision without seeing anything, let alone a spaceship. Chloe is surprised by the revelation that Superman can now use multi-spectrum vision. At Star Labs, Swan Technology and Research, Dr. Emil Hamilton informs Chloe that testing Superman's X-ray vision revealed other vision abilities. And as specified in Dr. Swan's will, Star Labs was established to assist Superman in understanding himself and his surroundings. Emil muses over the hazardous environment drones not being ready to send in Superman's place, and apologizes for misusing his time. But Superman is happy to help, and just wants to know when they find the ship. Lois texts Smallville, reminding Clark he's late for the LexCorp press conference. Superman questions why he never looks forward to any news from Lex. In response, Chloe gently reminds him that he knows better. At the LexCorp press conference, before Lex can make his announcement, Lois interrupts to ask what he was doing during the time between when his sister said he was dead and when she passed away. Lex admits that Tess is always on his mind. He then says he left to protect himself from himself, his twice-dead father, and the toxic legacy of the Luther name, which contributed to Tess's downfall. Clark arrives, apologizing to Lois for his lateness. And after a little side conversation about Lex killing Tess, Lex continues his presentation, claiming he was selfish for sitting idly while heroes rescued humanity from itself. The presence of extraterrestrial entities has made space a significant concern. LexCorp has invested heavily in global safety. In 2 days, they will launch the first Guardian defense platform into Earth's orbit. Lois questions where Lex will find a pilot on such short notice. However, Lex already has his savior, introducing a man he refers to as our very own Superman, Commander Hank Henshaw. At LexCorp's launch pad, 10 hours prior to launch, Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, is in search of Lex. Oliver expresses his skepticism regarding the military's willingness to allow Lex to maintain his Guardian platforms in orbit, given Lex's capabilities. In response, Lex suggests that this may be the very reason the military is not intervening. He further mentions that he is unaware of his own capabilities, attributing this to something Tess took from him. When Oliver defends Tess, Lex adds him to the list of individuals he has met who were allied with his sister, prompting Oliver to remark that these connections makes her suicide even more suspicious. Lex disagrees, but Oliver points out Tess's strength and questions how the public will react when the Green Arrow reveals Lex murdered his sister. Lex retorts that if such accusations were to be published, it could lead to scrutiny over Queen Industries' construction of a lunar facility, referencing Oliver's clubhouse for his super friends. Lex then states that if they had ever shared a friendship, it is a memory he is pleased to have forgotten. Frustrated, Oliver wishes Lex luck before taking his leave. At the LexCorp shuttle facility, Clark Kent is conducting an interview with pilot Hank Henshaw. Hank is engaged in his pre-flight routine, enjoying a variety of foods. Among his 5 senses, Hank places particular emphasis on taste, as well as touch, such as rain on his face, and sensations, like the feeling of gravity lessening, something akin to flying for most people. His most cherished sensation, however, is holding his wife in his arms upon returning from a mission, though he believed he would never have the opportunity to perform his ritual again. Mr. Luther has provided that chance with this mission. If he can contribute to keeping the world safe, it is all the more rewarding. Clark mentions that the world may be in a better position than Lex perceives. leading Hank to assume that Clark is a fan of Superman that has an S on his undershirt. While Hank finds Superman acceptable, he believes he is often reactive and should work to prevent conflicts before they arise. Clark suggests that Superman may be hesitant to impose his will on others. Hank argues that sometimes it is necessary to force others see the light. As their conversation concludes, Hank requests a copy of the article for his wife to frame. Clark assures him he'll do what he can and wishes him a safe return. In response, Hank reminds Clark, "What goes up must come down." 10 minutes until launch. Chloe and Emil are at Star Labs. Superman's orbital scans have successfully identified the ion trail of the ship they were searching for. Based on its trajectory, Chloe is not surprised by its landing location. As the shuttle lifts off, Lois expresses her concerns regarding Lex, while Clark remains optimistic, reassured by Hank's confidence in his mission. The launch appears to be proceeding as planned, until the second stage separation, when an issue arises and there is an explosion on the shuttle. Meanwhile, in Smallville, the occupant of the spacecraft that traversed the rift in space gazes up at the explosion in the sky and says, "This looks like a job for Superman."
This is Angela Chan reporting live from the site of the LexCorp Guardian launch, where the unthinkable has happened. Liftoff went as planned for Lex Luthor's Guardian project, but then, moments after booster separation, an explosion rocked the craft. LexCorp Mission Control is doing everything they can to regain contact with the distressed vessel. But, try as they may, what her intrepid crew really needs right now is a miracle.
Superman asks for a rundown from Watchtower. Chloe accesses Mission Control and informs him that there are 6 crew members in the forward section. A malfunction occurred with the platform in the cargo bay, and it is imperative that Clark extinguish the fire before it reaches the fuel tank. Utilizing his Arctic breath, Superman successfully freezes the flames and detaches the fuel tanks. Noticing a radiation leak, Clark asks Chloe to connect him with Hank. Alerting Hank that their cabin is on the verge of depressurization, Superman assures him that he will transport the crew to safety as quickly as possible. Hank encourages Superman to save the day, but he expresses that there is something Superman needs to know. 3 members of the crew are rescued, followed by 2 more, leaving only Hank. Superman races to reach him before Hank feels his final sensation. On the ground, the paramedics have brought Hank back and are attending to him. Superman tells them to take him to Star Labs for treatment. Lois asks Superman for a quote, and he informs her that Mr. Kent isn't going to be home in time for breakfast, because Commander Henshaw told him the explosion wasn't a misfire. At LexCorp, Otis informs Lex that he has the research on the toxin tests exposed him to, but Lex won't like the findings. Lex dismisses him. He is smiling and savoring the moment. When Otis asks how he could smile when the astronauts almost died and the shuttle accident is terrible from LexCorp, Lex replies, quite the opposite, and he has a very good reason for smiling. Because Lex and Superman are about to have a very interesting conversation. Thanks for watching Smallville Season 11, Episode 2. Please comment, like, and subscribe.